Good evening, boys and girls, and welcome to Chapter 4, Lesson 1. Our chapter title is called Estimating Quotients Using Multiples. And our essential question is, how can you use multiples to estimate quotients? Well, first of all, we have to know what a multiple is. A multiple is a counting number, like skip counting, like counting by twos, like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, or counting by fives, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. And we know how to count by tens, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. That's what a multiple is. So our essential question is, how can you use multiples to estimate quotients? Please write down this essential question at the top of your notes. So let's look at our first question. The bakery made 110 muffins. They will be packed in boxes with 8 muffins in each box. About how many boxes will there be? So our job is to estimate 110 divided by 8. Well, let's look at our clue word that tells us to estimate. That word is about. And we know that they can be packed in boxes with 8 muffins in each box. And they made a total of 110 muffins. So our job is to figure out about how many boxes will there be. So my strategy will be to list the multiples of 8 until you reach 110 or greater. So I'm going to start by skip counting or listing my multiples of 8. So I start out with 8 times 1 is 8, 8 times 2 is 16, 8 times 3, 24, 8 times 4 is 32, 8 times 5 is 40, 8 times 6 is 48, 8 times 7 is 56, 8 times 8 is 64, 8 times 9, 72, 8 times 10 is 80, 8 times 11 is 88, 8 times 12 is 96, I'll fit it right there, 96, 8 times 13 is 104, so I have to add 8 more to 96 to get 104, and if I add 8 more to 104, I get 112. So my question says I want to think about what number multiplied by 8 is about 110. Well, I would see that 110 would fall right about here. So that means 8 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So I would say there'd be between 13 and 14 boxes. But since 110 is closest to 112, I would say there'd be about 14 boxes of muffins. So let's practice. I want you to list the next 8 multiples of 10. I've started out the first 2 for you, 10, 20. Now remember, multiples are the numbers that you count by, and this time we're counting by tens. If you'd like to pause the video and do it before I do, that'll be awesome. But I'm going to go ahead and start. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 10 times 6 is 60, 10 times 7 is 70, 10 times 8 is 80, 10 times 9 is 90, and 10 times 10 is 100. Now we're going to list the next 8 multiples of 3. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, and 30. Because 3 times 1 is 3, 3 times 2 is 6, 3 times 3 is 9, 3 times 4 is 12, 3 times 5 is 15, 3 times 6 is 18, and so on. So what you're doing is you're counting by threes by multiplying 3 by each of those consecutive numbers. So if we look at this next question, it says estimate 196 divided by 4. So step 1, I've taught you that you want to list your multiples of 4 when you want to estimate a number for a quotient. Remember, the quotient is the answer to a division problem. So if I want to start out by listing my multiples of 4, and I want to get all the way up to 196, that's kind of a lot. Because if I start by going 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32, and 36, I'm going to have to keep going. And what if I make a mistake? I'd like to have a way to get there faster. Well, I'm going to show you how. So if my question is 196 divided by 4, and we want to estimate 196 divided by 4 to find the estimated quotient, I want to get there faster. So I could say, well, what if I multiply by multiples of 10? Then I'll get there faster. So think about the number 4, and we want to multiply that number 4 by 10. 4 times 10 is 40. 4 times 20 is 80. 4 times 30 is 120. 4 times 40 is 160. And 4 times 50 is 200. Wow, I got there a lot faster than counting by 4s. I did it by multiples of 10. And I know that 50 times 4 is 200, and 200 is really close to 196. So I could say that 196 divided by 4 is about 50. That would be my estimated quotient. So let's read this next question together. A restaurant has 68 chairs. There are 6 chairs at each table. About how many tables are in the restaurant? So what is this question asking me? It's asking me to estimate 68 divided by 6, because there are 68 chairs and there are 6 chairs at each table. So if we know that there are 6 chairs at each table and the restaurant has only 68 chairs, about how many tables will be there? So we can figure out by knowing what number times 6 is close to 68. So we can get there by doing our multiples of 6. Well, right away, I could just count by 6s and take a long way. 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36, 42, 48. But that kind of takes a while. I know that I can get there faster. Remember on that last question that we had about 196 divided by 4, and I said you can get there faster by counting by tens? Well, do the same thing with 68 divided by 6. 6 times 10, I know, is 60, and that's really close to 68. But I even know that one more group of 6, 6 times 11 equals 66. That's really close too. And if I add one more group of 6, 6 times 12 equals 72. So 68 is closest to 66. So the best estimate is that there are about 11 tables. And I guess we could just say that there'll be 2 chairs left over, maybe off to the side of the restaurant, and they're not being used at a particular table. So now we have a new question. Our new question says 85 divided by 6. We can do the same strategy that we used on our last question, and we can get to 85 a lot faster. Instead of counting by 6s each time, the multiples of 6s, I can actually start out by knowing 6 times 10 is 60. And now I can go ahead and list my multiples past 60 by counting by 6s. My next one would be 6 times 11. So 11 groups into 85 would be 66. I have to keep going. 6 times 12. 12 groups of 6 would be 72. I'm not to 85 or above it yet, so I must keep going. 6 groups of 13 is 78. I'm getting closer. 6 times 14 is going to be 84. Now I am really close to 85. So I know that 6 times 15 would be 90. So I know 85 falls right between 84 and 90. It's actually closer to 84. So I could say 85 divided by 6 is about 14. So here are your homework questions for tonight. I'm only giving you 2 questions because I really want you to show your work and think about them carefully. Question number 1 says, small groups of about 7 bottlenose dolphins live together in pods. So a group of 7 of them are called a pod. Sometimes several pods join in a herd to help protect each other. About how many pods are there in a herd of 204 dolphins? So you have 204 dolphins, and you want to know about how many small groups of 7 could fit inside that 204 group of dolphins. Well, what is the strategy I taught you today? You can get there by skip counting by 7s. That might take you a little bit while, but you will get there eventually. Or you can do what I gave you as a different strategy by the multiples of 10 of groups of 7, and see if you can get to 204 a little bit faster. And then when you're done, pick A, B, C, or D, but you must show your work on how you got there. Please don't just put down a letter. Now let's look at question number 2. 4 families went out to lunch. The total food bill came up to $167. The families also left a tip of $30 for the waitress. If each family spent the same amount, about how much did each family spend on dinner? Now, I do want to clarify something. The $30 tip was given for all the families combined. They each did not give $30 separately. So it's $167 for the food bill. $30 is the tip that the combined families paid for a tip. But remember, there are 4 families. If each family spent the same amount, about how much did each family spend on dinner? Explain how you found your answer. So go ahead, and I want you to work on that problem as well, and work it out carefully and explain how you got your answer. Now, when you finish with both of these questions, I really want you to take the time to assess yourself. You know the drill. This is what we've done in our last chapter. Level 1, you're a novice. You don't understand this yet. Level 2, apprentice. You're just about getting this, but you still need coaching. Practitioner. You can do this by yourself. You might get stuck, but you could pretty much do it by yourself. 4 is an expert. You could teach it to someone else because you understand it well. So here are your homework questions again. Please take the time, show your work, and we will discuss these questions tomorrow first thing when we get together. Have an awesome night. See you tomorrow.